Yo, 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 what is up? What is up? YouTube boxing family. It is K Rod here. I'm back with another good live stream for you guys today. Just wanted to give my post fight live thoughts for Teofimo Lopez versus Pedro Campa. And then I also wanted to talk about some other cards. Just Jason Velez versus Wesley Ferrer fight card. Just like the main event. And then I guess like two other fights that were on the card. I'll probably get that out the way first, and then we'll talk about Teofimo, and then Xander Zayas, and then I'll talk about Troy Isley, and then Andres Cortez versus Abraham Montoya, and then I'll probably talk about Charlie Sheehy. Well, probably not, but if I feel like it, then I'll talk about it. But yeah, man, salute to anybody coming in. This will be uploaded for my podcast for my viewers that will be watching. So, yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Should be a pretty good show. Um, I have to say, it was a pretty good, decent fight card for the Lopez versus Campa card, as I would normally expect it to be, knowing that top ranked fight cards are always designated to politically, promote fighters a certain type of way. But yeah, for this fight card, for those of you that don't know, Teofimo Lopez fought Pedro Campa. He knocked him out, I believe, in the seventh or eighth round. But either way, he didn't really knock him out. It was a weak ass stoppage, so I don't really count it to be a knockout. But I'll get to that in a minute. So let me talk about the Jason Velez versus Wesley Ferrer fight card. I'm not gonna talk about the entire card because I didn't really care about every single fight on that card, but I will talk about the three fights that were on that card. And I have to say, unfortunately, it was pretty decent. Um, I'll talk about the guy that on YouTube. Unfortunately, he lost. For those of you that don't know, Combat Toolbag, he was with Kana Local Sports that was down there in Orlando, Florida. And unfortunately, Combat Toolbag, he got knocked out in the first round against Joshua LeBron. I wasn't really, expecting that, but the fight itself really turned out to be a very, how should I say, like Joshua LeBron, I don't know anything like about him, so I'm not gonna try to gaslight him. But I think based off of his style, that was already a very difficult style to get into, and especially knowing that the guy Combat Toolbag, I'm not gonna call him by his government, but uh, he went in there with a really, really bad game plan. And I think that the problem is that when you're going to trade with a puncher, you have to keep your hands up when you're gonna throw punches. And I'm not gonna downplay on him because I know that he can easily, become a way, way better fighter than that. But I just think that if you're gonna head into those fights with that mindset of not having as much defense as you normally should in those big, tougher level fights, even though it is like your first fight and you are you were premiering your professional debut against a fighter that had 4 fights versus to someone that has no fights, but still, the fight itself just was like a very how should I say, as far as skill level goes, I wouldn't say it was a mismatch, but I will say it was a very, very poor strategy going into that fight, and I would hope that that would be something that would be fixed in due time. And I would wish, nothing but the best for Combat Toolbag. I hope he's doing okay, and I hope everything gets better because I know that he can do way better than that. And like a fight between him and Joshua LeBron, that would have definitely went out a lot more differently if the strategy was implemented a lot better. But just wanted to give like a little shout out to Combat Toolbag. Like I hope he's doing, okay. And shout out to Kind of Local Sports. He was there at the fight, and I guess he was working his corner with Combat Toolbag. So just wanted to get that out the way. But congratulations to Joshua LeBron. Um, he's a very, very good fighter, and he knows what to do. Uh, he's a very, very experienced level, up and coming rookie. The big thing about him is just that when he gets into these weird exchanges, I can see that Joshua likes to put himself in positions where he's gonna get hit and he might get clipped in certain exchanges, but just by looking at the fight itself, like he's not a bad fighter, but it's like his holes are like not as concurrent compared to other fighters that are young and up and coming. And I mean, he's a very heavy-handed guy, especially for 122. So I will give him his credibility, and maybe hopefully somewhere down the line, Combat Toolback could probably rematch him because I think a rematch, with like a more, heavily advanced version of him versus Joshua, I think that fight would play itself out a little bit more differently. But yeah, Joshua, he's a problem, man. He's a very good, hungry, dedicated fighter. I think he's only like what 20 years old, but he's now 5-0 or 5-1. He was originally 4-1, or I think 3-1 or 4-1. But I'll just take a look at his box rec right now, and I'll give you guys that information. Yeah, he's a very, very talented fighter. Yeah, he was 3-0 and 1, so now he's 4-0. So yeah, he knocked out Michael Turner, took him down. So yeah, nothing like how should I say? Like it's nothing to say as far as the performance itself was like super duper great from Joshua LeBron. He still has like a lot of work to do, but he's definitely gonna take over. The I think it was that bantamweight or super bantamweight, but I think he fights a super bantamweight if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, because it was contracted for super bantamweight from what I heard. But yeah, he's a very good fighter. He's a rising Puerto Rican, up and coming fighter. He's from Orlando, Florida, and he's also like a southpaw himself too. And Combat Toolback, he's a southpaw. So yeah, that's actually very interesting because I didn't know that LeBron was a southpaw. But yeah, that was a good fight. And if you guys want to take a look at that, just go on, Fight.tv. I'm pretty sure that they have, let the replay. You would have to purchase, let the $5 monthly subscription. But either way, that was a great performance by Joshua. But yeah, let's talk about the other two fights. I'll talk about Corey Marksman versus Angel Albello. I actually posted that fight on my channel, but yeah, he's a very, very good fighter, man. I haven't really talked so much about Corey because I've been busy, but I met Corey at the Evolution Boxing Gym. He's a very destructive fighter. Um, he's very, very aggressive with his style, but he knows what he's doing when he implements his fighting style to people or to his opponents when he gets in there with any, you know, opposition that's not willing to go blow for blow. But I think in that fight or with this fight with Albello, he just broke him down like a tree. He just made him break mentally and physically, and he dominated him. He did what he was supposed to do, and he's now on that spotlight a little bit more. He was actually elevated to be the co-main event because I guess the co-main event, something happened between that fight, so I guess that got fizzled and things were not, I guess like set up properly. So yeah, like I'm happy for Corey because I didn't know that he was actually let the co-main event for that fight. But yeah, he stopped his opponent. His opponent just basically, retired in the corner, and I guess Corey he got pissed off, where his opponent, basically just told him and his team, yeah, man, like I'm just gonna quit, and like obviously to to any fighter that wants to display their skills at a high level or at any level in boxing, of course that would piss you off, but 9 times out of 10 most fighters probably don't really get that angry. But I can understand from Corey's perspective. He's definitely a up and coming fighter. He's a very big fighter for the lightweight division. He'll definitely be in the marks with guys like Frank Martin, those type of guys where he's like a really big, strong, bulky lightweight, but he has a lot of athleticism and he has a lot of dog, in him. Corey's a very good fighter. I don't care what anyone says. I'll be the first one here to say that Corey will make a lot of noise in the lightweight division. And if you don't know him now, it's best to well, if you don't know who he is now, it's best to get to know him now. So therefore you can understand where he's coming from as a fighter. Obviously he's like a Florida native, so he's very educated with his dedication to boxing. I spoke to him at the Evolution Boxing Gym, and I should have done like a little video between me and him talking. But either way, like Corey's Corey's like a gym shark, while he's going through his training processes. So he doesn't give up in his training. He's always doing the right things to be the best and what he tries to be. And he's a very skilled fighter, and that showed up tonight in this fight. And like if you look back in the video that I posted on my channel for the fight, Corey was just eating Abello with those body shots, and he was crushing him with those left hook counters and just drilling him with those straight right jabs. Like Corey's like a very like Jermel Charlo-ish type of fighter. He doesn't give you a lot of respect in the fight, but he'll make you understand why he's not that easy to really be taken down. And I think like as the competition increases, I think Corey's going to do very well at the high level, but it's only subject to change when Corey is met with somebody that's not afraid to take a good punch, and then they're not going to be afraid to take risks, up against him. But I think Corey's just going to do fine with it anyway, because his adaptation to any form of, how should I say, to any form of discredit of like what he doesn't know what to do in certain situations. I think his ring IQ will start to evolve to be a lot better. So he's a good fighter. Definitely check him out, man. He trains out there in Florida. I'm pretty sure he runs into all the fighters out there. I saw him spar against Joseph Adorno at the Evolution Boxing Gym. So hey, maybe that will be like a good fight down the line. Maybe him and Joseph Adorno, they could probably fight each other. Obviously, he got trained. Well, I think he is trained by his father along with Nelson Rodriguez. So I just saw Nelson Rodriguez, in the corner. So I don't know what's going on with the training situation, but I'm pretty sure if him and Chris were to like ever, well, actually no, not Chris, but if him and Joseph Adorno ever see each other in the future, I will guarantee you that fight will probably be made somewhere down the line where Corey is at a point in his career in the lightweight division where he's not afraid of taking massive risk to put himself in a position. But it's like him and Joseph are like, they already know each other's, fighting style. So I think that fight, if it were to be like a made fight in the future, it's probably going to be for some form of like a title, because it's going to be somewhere down the line where they're going to want to be, put in contention for a world title. So I think that opportunity will present itself to be, there when things, start to be weeded out in their division. So I think at the very top of the lightweight division, that's going to be a very interesting, style matchup. But I think Corey is very, very good. He's a very technical boxer puncher, has a lot of good power when he starts to load up at the right times. Um, the only weaknesses that I will say that he may have will probably just be like, trying to hyper smother. But I don't think that's gonna be too much of a weakness. He knows what he's doing in there, so he's gonna work that out, in his next future training camps in the gym. So I think he's gonna be good. But either way, that's pretty much it for that fight. Let's talk about the co-main. Well, actually, no, the main event with Jason Velez and Wesley Ferrer. This fight was actually very, very, awesome. Wesley Ferrer did a great job. He was pounding on Jason Velez. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Jason, because he's a very good fighter and I've always liked him as a fighter, but he's just like not up there. Like he's at the Carlos Arroyo. Well, no, I want to say he's like the Carlos Arroyo of Puerto Rican boxing, but he's like a step level under, where like he should have been great, but the problem with him is just that he's defensively irresponsible at times, where he takes all these loaded up shots from opponents that are not afraid to, put him down, and it like to me at least, like it doesn't serve his case of him doing well against guys that have more experience than him. But the biggest issue of the matter is just that with Jason, he has good offensive work rate when he has the momentum and pressure to throw his shots and actually land. But when he's not landing those punches, the biggest takeaway of the matter is that Jason is not being disciplined on the defensive side, where when he gets met with like a big loaded up shot, like what he normally gets hit with, he usually ends up failing in those exchanges, and then he's not as successful as he should be to do the things that he should do. So the biggest problem is that Jason, his offense is pretty good. It's decent to say the least, but the defense is very terrible, and he doesn't make any proper like adjustments to put himself in position to change the momentum of a fight. And then when he's not winning the fight, he ends up going for broke, where he's trying to knock out people that are not going to, basically respect his punching power. So either way, I mean, Jason, he's, at the tail end of his career. He's 34 years old, but respectfully, I don't really see him doing any damage at I don't know what division he is campaigning at, but I think this fight was at 130 pounds. But still, I just don't think his his superstardom is really going to come back. His opportunities were there when he fought, Ryan Garcia and Oscar Valdez and all these other high level up and coming guys. But it's like after that, after he got those losses, it was just like, he never really, expanded after that. And I really wish that he did, because Jason had a very, very good ceiling to actually be there. But the biggest problem of the manner is that when you're a fighter that's not improving at the level that you should be improving at, the biggest problem of the manner is that you're not putting yourself in position to be better. And that is why Jason like basically failed in that fight, where he should have done way better in his progression, as a, well, in his progression to like actually get up there, to actually make some of a difference, to actually to actually win the fight. But either way, I think Jason, his ceiling is probably not as high as it once was, but I would like to see him probably just maybe take like a good couple more, I guess like how should I say, if he wants to take more, step up challenger fights, then all power to him. But I just think at this point of his career, I would personally like to just see him basically hang it up and retire, because I don't think he's as good as he once was. So I mean, that's just me. I don't think Jason is the same guy anymore, and I think it's just best for him to just get away from boxing. But yeah, either way, that was pretty much it for the main event. And I'll talk about the Teofimo Lopez and Campa fight card right now, but I'll start from the bottom and then I'll work my way up to the top. But let's talk about oh man, I guess I'll talk about Charlie Sheehy, because Charlie Sheehy, like I don't know if he's gonna be the next hype job, or he's going to be a very, very good fighter, but I just don't see that's really making me want to like him. And I guess just based off of the performance that he had, even though it's not his best fight, because it was like a skill building fight, up against a, how should I say, it was up against a Mexican guy that was like 2-0, and he was decent. He wasn't really the best fighter out there, but he gave he gave Charlie like a decent test. The biggest issue of the manner is just that this opponent wasn't really that good, and the thing was is just that he really tried like swinging for the fences for certain shots that weren't really favoring him, in the event of him actually wanting to, be successful. So I kind of felt like that was kind of like the whole takeaway from it. Charlie was trying to knock this guy out, but it really wasn't working well into his favor, because the Mexican dude that he fought, he wasn't going down, so he was doing his thing to make the fight competitive. But the problem is that if you can't knock a guy out and he's still standing, and you put yourself in position where you're not looking as good as you should be, then it pretty much puts Charlie in that position where he's really not, let the goods in what he should be doing. So I guess like the biggest takeaway from this is just that Charlie, he just has a lot of work to do. And I mean, I don't criticize a lot from Javier Santano fighters because, well, I don't think Javier was coaching him. I think the guy that was coaching him was that Mexican dude, Miguel Rios. But I mean, it's a decent coach. It's not like the best coach that he has. He's an okay coach, but the biggest problem that I have with this trainer is just that if you have Javier as your cut man, but you train with the Javier, Centeno team, which I'm not too sure if that's probably the case. Um, I'm pretty sure he probably does, go out to the gym out in Florida, but he doesn't, exclusively put himself, there all the time. He probably goes out, back to his normal gyms out in California, but I don't really see, that like those progressions to be as productive if you're not going to actually get, better training from like different trainers or just different training camps just to get like a better feel with it. But I think Charlie, he's a good, decent fighter. He's not the best fighter out there, but he has some work to do. Um, it's just only like a matter of how much progression is he really gonna go, and what is to be expected of him, because he has all this amateur experience, and people always try to champion that to say like, oh well, the amateurs makes you better, blah blah blah. But it's like, no, it really doesn't. Like the amateurs isn't there for you to be super duper great. And the biggest problem that I have against guys like Charlie is that that puts a lot of pressure on him, because therefore they call these. See, like the thing about it is that people that hype up guys that have this amateur pedigree, they use that to promote their name. They don't use it to say, oh, well, the amateurs is always needed to be great in boxing. No. Greatest example of that failure, theory would be Tyrell Biggs, one of the greatest amateurs ever, that was supposed to be the greatest heavyweight in boxing, in which he was very very close of becoming undisputed against Mike Tyson, and then unfortunately he lost to Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis, in which he could have beat those guys, but he was just never that good at the professional level because his style was still a amateurish fighting style. It wasn't a professional style where he was trying to go in there to knock dudes out and put people down. No, because his style was never evolving from that point. So that's not the biggest problem with a guy like Charlie. If he puts himself in that position where he actually believes in his own hype, that's where things will go downhill, because guys like Tyrell Biggs, he probably used to think like that. He probably used to think like, oh well, I'm gonna be great at the professional level because look at everything that I used to do back up inside like the amateurs. I was a Olympic gold heavyweight medalist with like Evander Holyfield and all those guys, but then look what happens. You get knocked out by Mike Tyson, in which you really weren't really well. Some people would say he was actually winning that fight, but I wasn't thinking that fight was really winning, on or that fight was won by Tyrell Biggs on his end. He kind of looked like he was like, how should I say? He looked like he was actually defeated in let the Mike Tyson fight mentally when Mike Tyson was hurting him, but he definitely had some minor success, early game, but late game it was like all Mike Tyson. But yeah, Tyrell Biggs, like he had the potential to beat Mike Tyson and actually become undisputed. if that was ever to be the possibility of doing so. So, I mean, that was a fight that he blew off like real bad, and then obviously the fight with who else like with Riddick Bowe and Evander Holyfield. So I mean, either way, I mean it's just all the fact of like the matter of what he actually did, as you know as a fighter, and his progression just really never got any better. So I mean, either way, like he should have done things a lot better, but he just never put himself in position to really be at that level. So yeah, so basically that's just kind of like how I see it. I mean, with Charlie, his progression can definitely get better, and I do believe Charlie will get better, but it's only just like a matter of time just to see where he's going to be, in the near coming future, if he's going to be made for the professionals or not. But either way, like I'm definitely looking forward to it because I think Charlie he'll do something, but I don't think. Well, actually, no. I think Charlie might do something, but maybe Keyshawn Davis might have some success, and maybe Troy Isley, which I'll get to, in a minute. But either way, let's talk about the next fight that was on the card. Um, this was a pretty decent card. It wasn't like the best card, other than like the co-main event was Xander, and then somewhat with like the Teofimo, fight. But the other fights that were on the card, who else was on the card? I guess I'll talk about Troy Isley and who's the other guy? Troy Isley versus Victor Tony. Yeah, that was a good fight. Um, See now with Troy Isley, I like him. I've seen Troy Isley fight once at the Turning Stone Casino, and he did a very good job. The fight itself was very, very, hyper competitive. And for those of you that don't know Victor Tony, he is the how should I say? He is the second cousin of of um, James Tony, if I'm not mistaken. That's what I heard. Well, that's what Bernardo, Osuna said. So that's what I would probably believe in. But with Victor Tony, he's actually a pretty decent, good fighter. I kind of wish like his career was actually more seasoned. Like as far as him having more fights, under his belt, but he definitely has, like the James Tony ish, type of style. Not the greatest, fighting style that that he actually presents himself with, in his actual fights, but Troy Isley actually was in trouble, in this fight. Victor Tony definitely made the fight, competitive, and I kind of feel like if he had more power, I think Troy Isley would have been in a lot more trouble, where the fight itself could have been a much bigger threat. In which Victor Tony he presented a very good, somewhat difficult, matchup for Troy. But I think what Troy was not, figuring himself out to do was that he should have forced the jab to the body and then make Victor fight off of his back foot and then bring Victor to a position where he can't force his jab to counter jab against Troy's jab. Because what Troy was failing to do was this, that he wasn't being as aggressive in that fight as he normally should. And if he was being more, aggressive to Victor, I think the fight itself would have been a lot more competitive. Um, I think with Victor's fighting style, um, he has more to gain in terms of making the fight competitive. But with Troy, he had more of the style to hurt Victor. But Victor, he was kind of like being very, adamant with his, fighting, fighting skills. And Troy, he was trying to just keep the fight very, very, technical. And I think that was smart out of Troy because, he didn't want to get hit with something really heavy from Victor. So the fight itself was like, it was good. I mean, it was very, very competitive, but the thing is just that if you're going to go out there and have a great performance because people are looking at you as a former U.S. Olympian, in which that is what Troy Isley is, and people will start looking at his name more. But it's just for these type of heavy level premiered performances, I think Troy needs to understand that there are certain levels to this game, but there's also certain expectations that people at the high rise, media would like to see out of you. And I think that's something that Troy he's starting to understand a little bit more. But I don't think he should really be pressured. He should really start fighting his normal fight because if he does that more, he's going to start becoming like a bigger threat. And I think that's what's going to start happening more for Troy. Like as long as you just keep fighting your fight and just become more, intelligent with your progression, then I think Troy Isley he's gonna go places, man. And I'm happy that he's making better, better progression with Coach Al Mitchell. I think his progression is way better versus, I guess, Al Mitchell training with Michaela because I really don't think Michaela's as good, getting, the training through Coach Al. And I don't think Coach Al, I don't think of him as the best trainer out there, but I do believe with the progression that Coach Al is getting with a guy like Troy Isley, and then on top of it, he's getting assistance through Kay Karoma and all those guys down in Vegas. That's really making let the you know, that's really making that stable look a lot more dangerous with the level of camaraderie and the level of experience building that those fighters are doing out there, especially out in the Midwest area where more fighters are actually becoming a lot more dedicated and focused in their progression. So I think either way, it's a very good, experience booster, and I think that's definitely needed more. Where stables need to come together more, and people need to start doing things a lot more, consistently. But either way, a great performance by decent like great decent performance by Mr. Isley. He definitely showed lesser holes in his last fight with Dante Stubbs. I thought the Dante Stubbs fight he was a little bit shaky, but he got the job done. He knocked him out, and he definitely did what he was supposed to do. To break Dante Stubbs down and then hit him with like a good heavy ass shot for him to the victory. So that's something that I'm happy to see out of him. And personally, like I would like to see more out of Mr. Troy Isley heading into the next coming fight here. So I think Troy's going to be like a problem at the middleweight division. Obviously, middleweight is not the best loaded stack division. I think the best stack division for him would be um, maybe super middleweight. I think super middleweight can easily light up because once Jamal Charlo and maybe David Benavidez, if they ever get their little square off going, everybody from the middleweight division would probably want to move up to probably challenge up against those potential fighters. But I just think based off of I guess at the state of the divisions in general, um, it would be nice to see more progression from these guys where people could start seeing more of the progression of the middleweights that could do more damage at the super middleweight division. But then again, if the middleweight division was hyper stacked, then the super middleweight division would be weaker. But I think with like the super middleweight division, it's starting to make a little bit of a climb where it's actually, reverting back to the old middleweight days. But super middleweight to me is actually pretty weak, and the middleweight division is pretty weak right now. So I don't really see like the progression as much as it should be. But I think it's decent. It's decent. It's not super duper good, but there's definitely some holes that do need to be fixed. Um, I do believe that as far as the big fights that people want to see at the middleweight division, um, I think the best fights that I would personally would like to see is hmm, like obviously I want to see Jamal Charlo versus Demetrius Andrade, and then moving forward would probably be a fight between you know Jaime Munguia versus maybe Janabek. I think Janabek would be a very very good fight. Oh my god, Jesus! But either way, I think there's plenty of great matchups, but the middleweight division definitely needs some rebuilding. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Let's talk about the other fight. Omar Rosario versus Munoz, right? That was a good fight. Omar did his thing. I had a very fun time watching that fight, and I'm actually very proud of Omar's progression. Um, with this opponent, however, this opponent kind of fought very, very, how should I say? He fought very scared in this fight, but he also had some decent punch resistance. So I mean, like the fight itself was competitive, but the issue of the matter was just that Omar he put himself in this position where he kind of made like the fight as close as it shouldn't have been. In which, I mean, people want to say like Omar he wasn't doing his thing. He looked a little bit shaky, but I think Omar was doing a very decent job. And I kind of felt like the fight itself could have been a little bit better with Omar trying to load up more to the body, but I think the fight itself definitely could have been better improvements. But Omar, he's definitely gonna learn from the fight itself with Munoz. I think Munoz he has skills, but if Omar just used his body shot more to Munoz, I think Munoz would have been in more trouble. So I think that fight definitely would have played itself out a lot more different, and I think Omar definitely would have made the fight a lot more entertaining if he put a little bit more gas into those punches. So therefore, he would have definitely made the fight a lot more hyper competitive. But with that being said, that was a very, very good experience builder fight for Mr. Omar Rosario. Um, it definitely could have been better, but with everything that goes on with some of these matches, you have to take your time, and especially with you fighting in different parts of the country, some of the judging is actually very different. So sometimes judges, would like to see hyper, aggressive fights, and then other judges would like to see, pure boxing, style, matchup fighting, and then some other judges would like to see a fight where it definitely goes by the hands of who's trying to knock somebody out. But still, boxing needs to be judged based off of the technicality of the sport. So, the judging is kind of weird, and I think Omar he knows how to score, for points. He doesn't need to go for a knockout. And I guess that the biggest issue is that a lot of people really think, well, some people would probably think that Omar doesn't have any power, but I disagree. Omar has power. It's just that Omar he needs to start, facilitating. Yeah, he needs to start, facilitating his power at a point of his career where the power itself needs to start prioritizing itself to hurt people to gain the respect of his opponents. And I think that's what Omar needs to focus on. But I think Omar, he's good. there's nothing that would make me think he doesn't have any skills. I think with Omar, he just needs to be more consistent with trying to do the things that he should be doing. And I think either way, he's going to keep getting better from these type of fights. And I think this Munoz guy, was a good step in the right direction to put himself at the high pedestal of putting himself in more more notifying matchups. So either way, I'm proud of him, and I hope Omar he continues to, just just continue to keep getting better. So yeah, that's very much it for that fight. Let's talk about the Alejandra or the Andres Cortez versus Abraham Montoya fight. This fight, I kind of felt like this fight really could have, really could have been like a sleeper fight. I thought this fight should have been a fight where, you know, um, Andres Cortez really looked very bad, and I mean, he didn't look his absolute greatest, and he kind of looked like he was just not, put at that level with Abraham Montoya. I thought Montoya he definitely did a good, decent job. The fight itself, however, it definitely did not look like Mr. Cortez was actually winning every single round because the judges literally had it I guess 80-72. I think it was like an 8 rounder. I'm not too sure. 8 rounder, yeah. I think it had to be a 8 rounder, but still, Cortez he really made this fight very difficult than for what it had to be. And I think the problem of the matter is just that Cortez, he really needs to start working on his defense more because this is I want to say how should I say? This is either let the second or third fight in a row where I have seen him hurt really, really bad. But it's like he's not putting himself in position to make the fight a lot more simpler, where he should actually be scoring for better points to win rounds versus him trying to go for the knockout. Obviously, in his last fight, he did get the knockout, but with that opponent, his opponent really wasn't, giving him that much of a, difficult task. And that's the biggest problem that I have. He really tries to rush for knockouts that he thinks he can get against opponents that are more than likely able to punch back and definitely give him a tougher task. So I think for the issue is just that Andres needs to start taking his time more, and he needs to start focusing more on boxing rather than trying to bang it out with somebody to try to get a knockout. I think that's really the biggest issue. He really tries to go for these knockouts, and that's where everything kind of puts itself at a bad position. And he's just not as fluid as he should be. And I think it's just simply due to the fact that Andres thinks that he could start knocking people out and start, putting people down. But I don't think he should be doing that. I think he should really start focusing on his boxing, ability and start cradling that more. And I think he'll start to, become a really, really good fighter. But as far as his performance with Abraham, I would rate it like a solid 7.5. It should have been way better than it should have been. But either way, decent performance. It wasn't like the greatest, but he should have done something a little bit better, in that fight. And I definitely would like to see better improvements heading into the future. So hopefully Omar, well, hopefully he could start doing the things that he should be doing. But hopefully we get to see more of him heading into the future soon. Um, I think that's gonna be that's gonna be like the fight to see in the future where Andres he'll start being matched up matched up against higher level, I don't know if he actually fights at lightweight. I wanna say he fights at lightweight because I know he weighed in at like 131. So I don't think he's a super featherweight. But if he is fighting at lightweight, I would like to see him face any of the up and coming lightweights like Michelle, Rivera, Isaac Pitbull Cruz, or if he's gonna campaign still at 130, maybe go up against Zerdito, maybe go up against Eduardo Ramirez. I think that's a very, very good matchup. And who else? I mean, there's plenty of great matchups out there, but I think he has plenty of great options on the table, and I think he should really start going after those names if he wants to put himself in position to be successful. But that's pretty much it with what I have with Andres Cortez. He's a very, very good up and coming, rookie style fighter. He just needs to work on his defense and work on his ring IQ. But he's a good fighter. I think his world title, campaigns will start to be very interesting heading into the future. But either way, that's pretty much it for that one. The last fight out of the preliminaries was obviously Mister. Who else was on the card? Jose Enrique Vivas. I wasn't really too impressed with him. I didn't really care so much about him. He's not really that good fighter or that much of a good fighter in my books. But I think based off of everything that he's done, in his fight against Eddie Valencia, uh, that fight should have been a little bit more. How should I say? That fight should have been a little bit more competitive than it should have been. But I think like Jose, he's not as good as people try to make him out to be. But he had a good, decent performance against Valencia. He beat him for like for all I know, and yeah, he's decent. But yeah, let's talk about the other fight card. I'm going to be talking about the main portion of the main card, and I guess I'll talk about Xander Zayas versus Elias Espadas. That was a very, very good fight. I was very happy for Xander. He looked way, way better compared to his last outing, which should have been back in March. But his last outing was against Quincy Lavalle. That was back in, well, yeah, that was back in March. But he was supposed to fight back in June for the Edgar Berlanga, Alexis Angulo card as a co-main event. So Xander did a good, decent job, with handling Espadas. He started using his his footwork a lot better and started positioning his punches a lot more dangerously. And that was something that I was very proud of because Xander, he never really did that. Coming up, as like as a younger professional, even though that he's only 19 years old, Top Rank picked him up at 16, with sending him like a contract. So, I mean, either way, like Xander is very, very heavily talented, and that's something that a lot of people really need to start, respecting. But I don't think Xander needs to start, you know, using, you know, I guess at the Top Rank model of just trying to get up there and start doing like the things that fighters usually think that they're going to be doing. And I don't think that's like the best opportunity for every fighter to just use Top Rank as a means of of them just being like like the ultimate badass of just saying, hey, if you want to get up there at the high level and be great, Top Rank is always going to be the best route for young fighters. But I think for Xander's case, when he starts getting up there at the high level, um, he's definitely going to need to cross promotions. And I think that's what's probably going to have to happen. So I mean, I would personally like to see him, with the PBC. I think PBC would be a great spot for him because PBC will continue to have all the belts at 154. So, that's something that I would like to see him, do. And I think PBC will definitely do him very well because he will have like a better, introduction to the higher level opposition. So Xander, he is getting better, but he needs to start upping his competition level. And with his 14th fight now in the books, we now have to start asking who should Xander be fighting next for his next veteran level opposition. And I think that great opponent out there would be someone by the likes of Luis Cuba Arias or maybe Terrell Gaucher. Some people think Terrell Gaucher would be a very, very good fight. Um, I think a fight with maybe Erickson Lubin. I think Erickson Lubin would give Xander a very difficult matchup. And the fourth and fifth fight, I'd like to see a fight between him and, oh man, I mean, 154 is just hyper loaded, but looking at the box rec on the listings, shit, I don't even know. Like personally, I want to be as realistic as possible. Oh, the fourth opponent would be Yoelvis Gomez. Definitely Yoelvis Gomez because he's a good ass fighter. And then who else is good? The other one, man, who would be the other one? The other one should definitely be Mister who? Ah man. Oh, Lucas Santa Maria. Yeah. I think Lucas Santa Maria would be that good final like opponent for Xander. Like those would be like my top five like opponents for Xander. But if any of those opponents that I mentioned just now would be good matchups for Xander, let me know. I think those would be amazing matchups, and I think Xander he's only getting better, and he's just doing everything correctly. Obviously, at the top 10 and top 15, we got Mr. Jesus Ramos Jr. He's a fucking monster. He's absolutely destructive with what he does. He obviously defeated Lucas Santa Maria in his recent fight, so I think Xander needs to start upping up at the competition when it comes up to young, destructive talent. When it comes to 154, and I think Lucas Santa Maria would be a good fight. I'm not too sure if Santa Maria is staying at 154 because he literally had his second fight at 154, at that weight class. Well, actually, no. I'm sorry. Yeah, he literally had his very first fight at 154 at that weight class, and then prior to that, he fought Abel Ramos. So I'm not too sure if he's gonna stay at 154. I think he's probably gonna go back down to 147 because I think that's where Lucas Santa Maria would shine a lot better. I think 147 would be um, um his weight class. So I think he's gonna he'll start to scale a lot better at that weight. So I guess we'll find out. But either way, Xander did a very good job. He broke Elias down. He beat him to the punch, and he took his time and he became more defensively, defensively actively responsible with his counter punching ability and just breaking Elias down with the right heavy-handed shots to hurt him. So great job. He got a good, decent, referee stoppage victory. I thought Espadas he should have been able to continue a little bit longer, but I knew Xander was going to stop him at some point at some point, of that fight. So either way, good victory. Hopefully Xander can be back in the ring soon. I'm pretty sure he'll be back in the ring by October, November, or maybe December. Who knows? But that's pretty much it, man. I have for that. I'll talk about Teofimo right now. I didn't really, watch too much of what the fight itself, but Teofimo did stop Pedro, but it wasn't a actual knockout. It was a referee stoppage that was very stupid. And I'll be the first one to say that I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with Teofimo's performance. Uh, I thought Pedro, he was a very, very good, decent test for Teo. But I felt like if that fight was to be continued a lot longer, I think Teofimo would have been stopped in that fight. The only thing that really was taken away out of that fight was just that Teofimo was very defensively irresponsible once again. He was always leaning on the ropes, being lazy, not really moving his head as much. But Campa, he wasn't being educated with his punches. I'm not trying to gaslight or hype up Campa, but Campa has fought way better, fights than his fight with Teofimo, and I think the biggest takeaway from it is that Pedro, he just wasn't utilizing his tools to the right advantages. Because if he started working with the body more, he would have been a lot more successful in that fight. And I think Teofimo would have been hurt a lot faster in that fight. So I think that was the biggest problem out of that fight in general. But if he was actually taking his time, which selecting the shots, and Teo, he was still able to hard counter him, I think even if it was going to go to a boxing match, I think Teo would have started to fade late game into that, later portion of the fight. So I mean, that's just something to think about. I wasn't really a fan of that referee stoppage, and I think the reason why they did that was because Top Rank wanted to find a way out of the fight, so therefore they could just hype job Teofimo's victory to say, "Oh, well, he's back. Teofimo, he knocked out Pedro Campa when he clearly didn't, and now Pedro, he's more pissed off because he's not being given his opportunity as a veteran level fighter to go out there and try to, give give the boxing fans a chance to believe in you if you're able to hurt Teofimo and do the things that you were supposed to do." And I mean, Teo, he was hurting him, but Pedro was not. He was not super duper hurt to the point where, the fight needs to be stopped immediately because Teo was just crushing him. No, Teo's punches were not hurting Pedro, but they were decent shots to the point where Pedro, he was kind of forced to be put in a situation where he had to take one to give one. So either way, Pedro, he made a decent performance, but it could have been way, way, way better. So that's pretty much it, man. I'll see you guys later on this, and let me know what you guys think about this fight card. Do you think this fight card was okay? And do you think Teofimo, he's gonna make any noise at 140? I don't. So let me know what you guys think up inside the comments, and I'm pretty much it. So I'll see you guys later. This is KRAS7435 back at it with another good video for you guys today, and I will see you guys tomorrow or sometime in the future. So be sure to like, rate, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later. Peace out and goodbye. And shout out to Pedro Campa for giving him a very tough awarded fight in which it didn't go within his favor. So much love and respect to him, and salute to Omar Rosario, Troy Isley. Also shout out to Duke Reagan. I forgot about him. He had a very, very good fight with D'Angelo Fuentes. So very, very good fight. I'll probably talk about Duke Reagan and get my initial thoughts on him. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I'll see you guys later. Have a great day, and yeah, have a good night. All right, peace out and goodbye.